your butt out of bed, get in the shower. I know you will do this because you love me, and come pick me up.
Hi there, this is Tom Kolovos, and we're here at the Michigan Avenue store of Neiman Marcus to talk with designer Rubin Singer about his new spring collection, which he just showed in New York. And Rubin is a designer whose work I'm sure you're really familiar with, but you may not be able to put a face to the designs, but I want to change that today. So you do the housewife's wedding gown, and as a happy accident, we talked a little bit about before you came here over the last couple of weeks, as a happy accident, a bridal business gets started. So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, when we did the bridal gown for Cynthia, it was, you know, the first step of a sort of energetic shift in my business towards bridal. Of course, we got a lot of calls and interests from women that wanted the dress, or that wanted a version of the dress, or wanted something completely but a bridal dress, wedding dress rather. And so that kind of spawned this whole wedding thing that started to evolve. And subsequently now we have a major licensing deal with a bridal house a bridal company in Japan, which is launching this spring, and we're going to be doing a big push for it over there in Japan. 9 major stores that are going to be distributing it, including an expansion to China and Korea as well. So it's very exciting for us.
And launching in the United States in the spring?
Yes, correct.
In a location yet to be determined?
Correct.
Now we're switching channels from Bravo to Dateline NBC, and when I met Rubin 4 years ago at an undisclosed location, retail location, different than this, and a trunk show, we went out to dinner afterwards, and while we were passing around drinks and whatnot, Rubin told this really wonderful story about his grandfather and his father and how he got to be in the design business, because that was really my initial question, and that he gave me this amazing answer, which I've never forgotten. And I would like for Rubin to regale you with the answer to this question, which is, Rubin, how did you become a designer?
I am 3rd generation Russian fashion designers. I kind of grew up in this business, and I am named after my grandfather, who was also a designer, Rubin Singer, and he was a very celebrated couturier in Warsaw, Poland, working in Paris as well. And when the the invasion of Warsaw happened, started the Second World War, most of his brothers and sisters were murdered by the Nazis, except for him and his brother. They were actually captured by a firing squad, shot at, and subsequently pretended to be dead, laid under the dead bodies for 13 plus hours, got up and started walking east until they were captured by the communists when they crossed into the USSR. They were separated and put into coal mining. When Rubin was put to the task of actually doing the mining, he said, "I'm not going to do this. I make clothes. I don't mine for coal." The commanding officer said, "Okay, here's some fabric, a scissor, and a needle and thread. Make me a suit, and I'll decide whether I keep you or I kill you." So I made him a suit, and within a few months' time, he was brought to Stalin, where he was commissioned to do a suit for him. Once that was done, he shortly thereafter became coronated, so to speak, as the chief costume clothing designer for the Red Party, for the Communist Party, and became the first sort of official celebrated Soviet couturier. My father, who studied under him, started studying under him at the age of 13. His teachers and sort of mentors were all of Rubin's staff, who actually happened to have been the sewers for the cavalry and the court of the Tsar and Tsarina prior to the revolution. So he had experience with the finest hands, and his first gig, so to speak, was to do the costumes for the horses and elephants of the Moscow Circus at the age of 16. By 21, he started working at the Bolshoi, and by 27, he was the director of the Bolshoi.
The costume director of the Bolshoi.
Costume director of the Bolshoi, my father, yes, Alec. And Rubin had tried to leave the country, the Soviet Union, twice. He was very politically connected, obviously, so he was allowed to leave, and he was supposed to leave on a ship, which, for whatever reason, he never boarded, and the vessel left without all of his luggage, and he never boarded. And that, I believe, was in the early 50s. The second time, he had just left the Soviet Union. He crossed over. He flew to Italy, where he was in Florence, and in 1968, on July 22nd, the day after he arrived there, he was killed in a car accident. And he always wanted to return to the West, and he finally did, and he died in the West. My parents emigrated, or escaped rather, or defected in the Soviet Union because the French Ministry of Culture at the time in the 70s was doing an exchange with the U.S., with the Soviet Union. And they, that's how Nureyev defected, and a few other artists and political refugees from the Soviet Union. So my father got invited to work in France doing couture. At the time, people were leaving through Vienna, Rome, and Tel Aviv. And 7 months pregnant, my mother and my father emigrated or left, never to return, the Soviet Union, and I was born in Vienna on July 22nd, 1978, 10 years to the day that my grandfather died to the same name. And I started my tutelage basically at my father's atelier in Paris until we moved to New York in the mid-'80s. And I continued my training there. And when it came time for me to go to school, I went to London, went to St. Martin's, came back, started working on my own, then quickly started working at Oscar de la Renta because 9/11 transpired and everything sort of fell apart. So I started at the bottom rungs at Oscar, and within 6 years, started went to licensing at Bill Blass, where I did coats and outerwear, and now I'm under my eponymous label, Rubin Singer, now for 5 years. So we've been on our own for 5 years, working.
After all that history, all of that personal history of designing your family, I just recently called them on my site shovel-ready collections. The Kardashians at Sears, Sofia Vergara at Kmart, and J-Lo at Kohl's. When someone has real design experience, and not only just personally, but going back 3 generations in your family, and someone shows up and slaps their name on some stuff and it appears, what does it do? I mean, do you even give it some thought, any thought? Does it do something to someone who's got all that kind of experience, that very notion that someone is buying from a design collection by the Kardashians or whomever?
Not really. It's a very different thing. It's fashion versus product. It's celebrity versus craft. It's a lot of different. There's a multitude of differences. The celebrity contemporary sort of mass label is something that is a function of business. It's a function of media. It's a function of product. It's people making money on their names with entire teams of designers and producers and manufacturers and a whole myriad of people that are basically capitalizing on fame of this person. And I think good for them that they can do it. Does it have any relationship to what I do? Absolutely not.
I just heard this morning that Jason Wu is going to be the newest designer for Target, the capsule collection for Target. Given what you just said, would you do a collection for Target?
Absolutely. That's totally different as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's because it's different because
it's different because it's a designer actually going out and developing a mass line for a retailer that has the position to distribute it on a mass level. It's taking your concept of your product and making it in a affordable, approachable way that the consumer can then, buy into the identity of the brand, which I think is great.
Okay. So now you've gotten to know Rubin, both the Bravo version, the Dateline NBC version, and even the MSNBC version. This is Tom Kolovos for ControlledSubstance.com and for NBC5 here in Chicago, saying goodbye from Neiman Marcus on Michigan Avenue.
Get your butt out of bed. Get in the shower. I know you will do this because you love me. And come pick me up.